Listen closely because the next few seconds might sting more than you expect. A woman never hurts a man the most when she leaves. She hurts him the most when she stays, but treats his presence like it's disposable. And if you've been feeling that quiet, sinking heaviness in your chest lately, it's not an accident. It's a sign of something she hopes you never wake up to. When a woman stops valuing you, she doesn't always announce it. She doesn't shout, break things, or write it in her eyes the way movies make you believe. Instead, she withdraws in small, sharp ways that feel too subtle to confront, but too painful to ignore. She stops appreciating what you do, but still expects everything from you. She goes emotionally silent, but remains physically present so she can enjoy the comfort you provide without offering depth in return. And the worst part? She makes you feel like the distance is your fault, even when you're the only one still trying. You start questioning yourself in ways no man should. You replay conversations wondering where her warmth disappeared. You step over your own boundaries hoping she notices your effort. But she doesn't. Not because she can't, but because she no longer sees your value. And she assumes you won't see it either. That assumption is the deepest cut. When a woman stops valuing you, she behaves as if you will never walk away, never demand better, never choose yourself. She gambles on your silence. She bets on your loyalty. And she slowly reshapes you into a weaker version of yourself, not out of cruelty, but because she knows you haven't realized your own worth yet. But here's the truth you were never supposed to hear from a woman. The moment she senses you don't value yourself, she stops valuing you too. Not consciously, not maliciously, but instinctively. A woman cannot admire a man who abandons himself to keep her comfortable. She may enjoy the convenience, but she won't feel the same respect, desire, or emotional pull she once did. And that imbalance becomes the poison in the relationship because time you let something slide, every time you apologize to restore peace, every time you shrink so she feels bigger, you teach her that your needs don't matter. You teach her that your presence is guaranteed. And nothing kills a woman's appreciation faster than believing you'll stay no matter how she treats you. There's a moment every man can feel but almost never admits out loud. The moment when her tone changes, her eyes glaze over, and her patience with you becomes thinner than paper. She doesn't say she's done. She doesn't say she's lost interest. She simply starts acting like the version of you she once admired no longer exists. And instead of confronting that shift, you try harder, hoping the extra effort will bring her back. But it never does, because when a woman stops valuing you, effort doesn't fix the problem. It feeds it. She wants to see whether you'll chase what she no longer offers. She wants to know if your desire for her is stronger than your respect for yourself. When she pulls away and you come running, it quietly tells her something she won't say out loud. You're afraid to lose her, and she isn't afraid to lose you. And whether you realize it or not, that imbalance shapes every interaction that follows. This is where men begin to slip into a version of themselves that feels foreign, overthinking, tiptoeing, swallowing emotions, ignoring their intuition just to keep peace with someone who isn't offering peace back. You feel the tension growing, but you keep convincing yourself it's temporary. You keep telling yourself she's stressed or tired or just going through something. But deep down, you know it's more than that. You can feel the difference between a woman who's busy and a woman who's disconnecting. One feels chaotic but honest. The other feels cold. What hurts you the most isn't her distance. It's that she acts like you don't notice. She assumes you're blind to the way she stops asking about your day, to the way she only shows affection when it benefits her, to the way intimacy becomes selective, almost transactional. She thinks you don't feel the difference in her energy, her tone, her presence, but you do. You feel it in the silence. You feel it in the short answers. You feel it in the way she looks at her phone when you're talking, like whatever is happening in her world is more important than whatever is breaking in yours. And still, you stay. Not because you're weak, but because part of you is hoping she'll suddenly remember who you were to her, that she'll wake up one day and treat you the way she used to, but hoping for the past is the reason you're hurting in the present. There's a truth most men never hear from a woman, especially not one who has studied human behavior for years. Once she stops valuing you, She starts testing you. Not consciously, not with a plan, instinctively. She pushes to see how far your boundaries can bend before they break. She pulls back to see whether you'll chase or choose yourself. She compares the strength you used to have with the softness you've slipped into, and she watches which version of you shows up. And the most painful part? These tests rarely look like tests. They look like sarcasm that goes a little too far, like jokes that sting more than they should, like canceled plans, reduced affection, slow replies, and unexplained mood shifts. They look like her losing patience with things she used to overlook, or criticizing traits she once admired in you. And every time you let it slide, she learns something about you, that you're willing to tolerate treatment that chips away at your confidence. You think staying calm makes you strong. You think being patient makes you mature. You think giving her space shows emotional intelligence. But sometimes these responses don't signal strength. They signal fear. Fear of conflict, fear of disappointing her, fear of being left. When a woman senses that fear, she doesn't feel safer with you. She feels less anchored, less attracted, and less emotionally connected. Because a man who can't stand up for himself can't stand up for her either. You weren't meant to shrink just to be loved. You weren't meant to walk on eggshells, soften your voice, or ignore your own needs to keep a relationship from falling apart. That isn't love. That's self-abandonment. And the moment she notices you abandoning yourself, she stops seeing you as the man she once respected. She may still care about you, but she won't see you as someone she can lean on, trust deeply, or admire the way a woman admires a man she truly values. What hurts you isn't her behavior. It's the loss of who you were before you started chasing her approval. Because deep down, you know you've been betraying your own instincts. You've been betraying your own standards. And the version of you she fell for? He didn't tolerate disrespect. He didn't negotiate for affection. He didn't beg for attention. He didn't lose himself trying to keep someone else. But now, you're beginning to realize that the real battle has never been with her. It's been with the part of you that forgot your own worth. There's a moment in every man's life when he finally realizes that her behavior isn't just a phase. It's a reflection, a mirror she holds up, showing you the parts of yourself you've been avoiding. Because when a woman stops valuing you, the signs aren't meant to destroy you, they're meant to wake you. And if you don't wake up, you start living in a quiet kind of emotional poverty, where you give everything and receive almost nothing in return. You start noticing how conversations feel one-sided, how your presence doesn't shift her mood the way it used to, how she treats your effort as if it's expected rather than appreciated. Small things become heavy. The way she sighs when you ask for even a little attention, the way she gets irritated at the smallest requests, the way she doesn't look at you with curiosity anymore, but with a kind of emotional boredom. And the more this happens, the more you begin to internalize a painful belief. Maybe this is all I deserve. But you don't deserve this. And deep down, you know it. You can feel it in your chest every time you go quiet instead of speaking up. You can feel it in the tension in your shoulders when you pretend everything is fine. You can feel it in the way your happiness shrinks to fit inside whatever emotional space she leaves for you. This is not who you are. This is who you became when you started trying to earn what should have been given freely. A woman's lack of value doesn't just hurt you emotionally, it alters your identity. You become more cautious, more apologetic, more desperate for small crumbs of affection. You stop thinking like a man who leads his life and start thinking like a man who is waiting for permission to feel wanted. And here's the truth most men never hear. Once you start waiting for validation, you lose control of the relationship. You let her moods dictate your self-worth. You let her distance shape your confidence. You let her silence become the standard you measure yourself against. But you weren't built for that. You weren't designed to be an emotional afterthought. And the moment you finally see how much of yourself you've sacrificed, you feel something shift, a quiet anger mixed with clarity, an awareness that you've been giving love from a place of insecurity instead of strength. And that realization doesn't break you. It begins to rebuild you. There comes a point where the pain stops being about her and starts being about you, about the version of yourself you lost trying to be enough for someone who didn't even recognize your worth. And that's the moment every man either breaks or wakes up, because when a woman doesn't value you, the wound she leaves behind isn't just emotional, it's transformational. It forces you to confront the truth you've been avoiding. You can't make someone appreciate what they've already decided to take for granted. But this is also where something powerful begins. When you finally step back, when you finally stop chasing, when you finally hold your head up instead of lowering it to keep the peace, you create a shift. Not just in the relationship, but in yourself. You begin to realize that the affection you were begging for was nothing compared to the peace you were sacrificing. That the love you were trying to hold together was costing you the stability, pride, and strength that made you who you are. And here's the truth: every man needs to hear from a woman who understands psychology on a deeper level. The moment you reclaim your self respect, everything changes. Your energy changes. Your decisions change. The way you walk, speak, and carry yourself changes. Women notice it. People notice it. You notice it. Because the version of you that emerges after heartbreak, if you allow yourself to grow, is stronger, sharper, more grounded, and more aligned with who you were always meant to be. A woman not valuing you is painful, yes, but it's also revealing. It shows you where your boundaries were too soft, where your voice was too quiet, where your standards were too negotiable. It shows you where you gave too much, too fast, for too little in return. And instead of letting that harden you, it can refine you. It can teach you to slow down, to observe actions, to protect your heart without closing it, to choose women who admire you rather than tolerate you. Because at the end of the day, the real question isn't whether she valued you. The real question is whether you value yourself enough to walk away from anything that makes you forget your worth. So let me ask you something personal, something only you can answer. What was the moment you realized she stopped valuing you? And what did it change inside you? Tell me in the comments. And if this message hit you the way I believe it did, like subscribe and share this video with a man who needs to hear it today.